Hey everyone, so in today's video, I want to talk about how our parents could be unintentionally keeping us poor. So I've spent the last 15 years learning everything about money through a degree in finance, a career in banking, and the last 8 years working in Google. And at 38, I finally achieved financial freedom. And one of the biggest lessons I've learned is how much our parents actually influence our relationship with money. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 of the most common bad money advice that our parents will give us and how you can break free from them. I'll be ranking them from the least to the most harmful advice and end it with one bonus tip that is the absolute worst and keeps us in generational poverty. Bad advice number 1, going to college. Growing up in competitive Singapore, I was constantly pressured by my parents to go to college, or uni as we call it. And I'm guessing you had the same pressures from your parents as well. Go to college, get a job, and you're set for life. Now, our parents aren't entirely wrong. College can be great, especially if you're studying something that is in demand, like medicine or computer science. And back in the 60s, less than 8% of adults actually have a degree. So this makes it a golden ticket to success everywhere. Today though, nearly 40% of us actually has a degree. This means that college no longer has the same value. And in fact, it feels like a participation trophy where everyone has one, but they no longer mean much. Also, almost half of undergrads today are underemployed. This means that they are working at a job that doesn't actually require a degree, such as driving for Uber. But it's all not bad news. There are actually many great careers out there that do not require a degree. A plumber in the UK made headlines for making £200,000 a year, and an electrician in New York can make $100,000 annually without the burden of student loans. So if you're unsure about college, explore other trades that are in demand right now. These jobs may not be fancy, but I guarantee you that your parents will still be proud when they see you thriving. Bad advice number 2, just save your money. Growing up, my parents would yell at me if I blew my entire allowance at the video game store. They kept stressing to me how important saving is, because my parents grew up with very little, and it was because of their saving and frugality that gave us a better life. So the thing here is, in the 70s and 80s, your parents were actually enjoying interest rates as high as 20%. This means that if they saved $10,000, it will grow to $12,000 after a year and $60,000 after 10 years. No wonder our parents are always so happy to wait hours in line at the bank just to deposit a few bucks. Today, for you and me, the average saving accounts gives us an interest rate of less than 1%. Now, I'm not saying to ignore your parents' advice. Definitely save 3 to 6 months of living expenses as emergency. But after that, it's time for you to invest. For me, investing in the S&P 500 was a game changer because on average, it grew 10% every year since 1957. So for example, if you have just invested $1,000 back in 2013, 10 years later, that would have grown to over $3,000. And that's the type of growth that you just can't get from a savings account. Bad advice number 3. Just get a job and you'll be fine. So that's what my parents would always encourage me when I tell them I didn't know what to do with my life. My parents would also encourage me to start working young because at their time, they could stay with one company throughout their entire career and retire with a great pension. But sadly, times have really changed. Layoff, outsourcing and automation has made our jobs far less secure. In my case, I was working for Google. It's one of the best companies out there in the world and also one of the richest. So I felt like I had the most secure job. But 8 years in, poof, I was laid off. And at that moment, I finally realized there is no such thing as a secure job. Having just one job is also limiting because I was essentially trading my time for money. Okay, just to share with you, I was making $250,000 a year in Google and I thought I was doing great. Then I came across a tweet by famous investor Naval Ravikant that says that you can never get rich renting out your time. And that hit me hard because at Google, I was already burned out and there was no possible way I could work even harder. That's when I decided to build multiple income streams. I invested in stocks, started a side hustle teaching, and launched this YouTube channel. At that moment, I still remember some of my relatives. They saw what I was doing and they even warned me, hey, you should just focus at your day job. Your company wouldn't be happy if they found out. But I pushed through. And eventually, when I was laid off, I wasn't worried because I had other incomes already all set up. So if you want real wealth, you need assets to be working for you even when you're not working. And if you're unsure where to start, just speak to a family member who's really good with money, find a trusted advisor, or just keep watching my other videos about investment and finance. Bad advice number 4, buy a house ASAP. Okay, so this one is personal to me because growing up in an Asian family, my parents would always insist that I buy a home before I hit 30. And I'm guessing a lot of you are feeling the pressure of owning a house today as well. And don't even bother about renting, because to my parents, that's like throwing money away. But here's the thing, when our parents bought homes, they were much more affordable, so home ownership was a smart move. Today, even after adjusting for inflation, home prices have gone up 6 to 7 times faster than our income. Now I get it, owning a home is still a dream for so many of us. It represents stability, independence, and you feel like you made it in life. But it's also really hard not to feel hopeless looking at the situation right now. But here's the good news. In many cities, renting is actually cheaper than buying. Renting also gives you flexibility, especially when you're younger. Because you don't know if you're going to stay in one city for the rest of your life, so why commit all your resources to one decision? For me, my wife and I are currently renting a small and affordable place. It is nothing fancy, but we feel proud that we can pay the rent on time without relying on our parents or going into debt. And here's the thing that nobody talks about. Our parents pressure us to get a house because indirectly, they're also pressuring us to start a family and have kids. And given how expensive childcare is right now, if you're rushing yourself into getting a mortgage and having kids, it is just a very bad financial decision. Bad advice number 5, valuing status over wealth. Growing up, my parents would always say something like, "Hey, look at the neighbor's brand new car. They must be doing so well." While my parents meant well, they were indirectly teaching me to chase after status instead of building real wealth. This led me in my younger years to chase material things, and looking back, honestly, I was buying things I don't need with money I don't have to impress people I don't like. Eventually, I realized we're really just playing 2 games in our lives. First is the money game, which is anything we do to make money. We play it because money is important, and while money doesn't solve all your problems, it solves all your money problems. The second is the status game. It is the oldest game in the world, and it measures your hierarchy in the society. Who has the biggest car? Who has the biggest house? Who has the best jobs? So I really think that we all started with great intentions and we all wanted to play the money game, which is to make money. But somewhere along the line, we got distracted and started to chase the status game instead. We see others with nicer things and we feel the need to keep up. And this leads to lifestyle inflation, where we buy bigger, flashier things just to impress other people. I've seen this firsthand because I have many relatives that are relying on credit cards right now just to impress other people. So how do you avoid this status trap? Forget about pleasing your parents or impressing your friends. So at work, focus on improving your earnings, not your image at the office. And instead of buying the latest, shiniest toy, save and invest to build real wealth. And now, the bonus advice from our parents, which actually keeps us in generational poverty, and that is, children should take care of their parents' retirement. In many cultures, including here in Singapore, it is common for parents to take care of their children with that expectation that when they grow up, they will take care of them during their retirement. While this sounds like a beautiful idea of a beautiful family, the reality is often much harsher. When parents don't plan for their own retirement, what they're doing is they're putting massive amounts of financial stress on their children. Because their children is now going to be pulled in 2 different directions, paying for their own parents as well as their own children in the future. And if this sounds like what you're going through right now, then you may be caught in this phenomenon called the sandwich generation, where you're caring for your parents and looking after your own children. And this really sucks because everyone suffers. Your parents, they're going to feel like a burden. So to save money, they're going to cut back on going out for any activities. This explains why you see a lot of old people just staying at home where they are so lonely and depressed. Meanwhile, for you as the adult, you end up with less for your own retirement, and this whole cycle repeats when your children have to then take care of you. And sadly, there is no way to escape this heartbreaking cycle, because you can't just say, "No, I won't take care of my parents," and you'll definitely feel guilty if you do so. But the good news is that all of us can avoid this painful way of destroying families. We just need to get our parents to start planning for their own retirement as soon as possible. Families often don't talk about money, so you can take the lead in starting that conversation. Start by talking about money at the family table, or suggest watching educational content about money and finances with your whole family. Ultimately, our parents want the best for us, and they did the best they could with very little financial knowledge that they had. The key for us is now finding what works in today's world and not just following what used to work. And while we can't change what was taught to us in the past, we can and should change the way we teach our future generation. And if your parents have given you other financial advice that we didn't cover in this video, please share them in the comments below so that we can learn from each other. And if you like this video, please continue to support me by watching these other videos, and please subscribe and take care.